Welcome back to the neighborhood, and thanks for stopping by. On this episode, we're going to be taking a look down memory lane and talking about the formative games we played during the days of our youth. Welcome to the podcast where three longtime friends talk about video games from the average gamer's perspective. My name is Andrew Kimball.
I'm Dylan Wren.
And I'm Aubrey Summer.
And we are your friendly neighborhood gamers.
Before we dive in, if you enjoy the show, we would greatly appreciate it if you would leave a 5-star rating or review on your podcast app of choice. If you are watching this on YouTube, we're recording this in person, so that's why you can't see our faces on this one, even though we've been kind of experimenting with that a little bit over the recent episodes. But if you enjoy it, leave a comment, a like, subscribe to the channel. All that helps us out a ton. And if you want to hang out with us and be part of the effin' community, join our Discord with the link that will be in the episode description. That is where we're all at. We're on social media too, but if you actually want to come and hang out with us, Discord is the place to be. Mm-hmm. With all that being said, this topic is just a little bit of reminiscing, looking back at the games of our childhood. Aubrey and myself have done this topic before. Probably at least a year ago. It was before episode 100.
Yeah.
And it was just the two of us on that episode. So this time around, Dylan is with us. He's back to talk about his childhood.
How long ago was that?
His childhood? Yeah. It was before college.
So was mine. Back in my day, we didn't have video games.
We had Pong and we liked it.
The other voice that you heard just there is rounding out the sibling trio. It's mine and Aubrey's little brother. Braedon is back on the show after 160 something episodes. I think he was on like episode 2 or 4 or one of the very early
Shadow
ones.
of Mordor.
Yeah.
Is that the last time I was on here?
No, you were on Baldur's Gate 3.
I thought I've done it.
Oh, right. I wasn't on that
Yeah,
episode.
you weren't on that one. The episodes Andrew wasn't on don't exist in his mind.
He has good audio on this one. That's how you know I'm here.
Yeah.
Anyways, Aubrey thought it would be a good idea to round out the sibling trio and have Braedon join us as we look back at our childhood games. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Childhood video games. Aubrey, this is kind of your brainchild, a topic you wanted to revisit. Do you have an idea of how you want to kick this conversation off?
Sort of. So like Andrew and I both like definitely got our start on the old like iMac and playing mostly like educational games, Reader Rabbit, stuff like that. But Braedon's not much younger than us, but I feel like a lot of his gaming experience and stuff, because you and I kind of occupied the PC, I feel like he jumped on more in the like GameCube, Wii sort of era. And then
probably a lot of DS.
Yeah, a fair bit of.
Yeah, I think my first official personally owned gaming device was a Nintendo DS Lite, acquired in probably 2006.
Didn't you have a
for my birthday?
You also had a Game Boy Advance SP. You and I both had.
I did have
SPs.
it. That is true. I had an SP. I remember playing Mega Man on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I have memories playing the old, what was it, Star. You're gonna have to help me get there on this one because I don't. It's first of all, what's the arcade game with the little arms that smack the pinball?
Pinball, yeah.
So you're gonna be doing a lot of editing.
Space Cadet, Star Cadet.
Yeah, the one that came on, was it like Windows
Yeah.
XP or 2000?
What is pinball?
Yeah, listen,
It's all good.
it's been a long day. So I remember playing that one on the desktop computer we had in the house. This had to have been 2002 or 2003. Like I barely understood.
We
Yeah,
had
like
pinball back in New Mexico on the computer. I remember playing that
but
and
like,
Solitaire.
You don't have
Yeah.
many memories from New Mexico, huh?
No, I remember. Yeah, I'll age myself and say that I do not remember 9/11, but I was alive when it happened. So
Nice.
give
How
you an
many minutes
idea
in
of the-
before we bring up 9/11?
I think it's relevant to.
It's always relevant. Never
video
forget.
games.
Yeah, never forget. But yeah, like in that window of 2002 to 2005 is probably where a lot of my earliest PC
Mhm.
gaming memories are, and it's like the stuff that was just baked into Windows.
Yeah, so like for me, that era was less of the like Reader Rabbit, like Let's Start Learning or
I was
educational,
playing the
like
Reader Rabbit game.
but more like Stronghold Crusader, Majesty.
Oh yeah,
I had gotten like some horse game or something around.
it was
that
a Barbie
point.
game. It was a Barbie barrel racing.
Yeah.
I played the crap out of that game.
It was so much fun. I really enjoyed
I
it.
could have gone
remember-
ranked.
Competitive Barbie barrel racing.
Yeah, dude. I was setting record times.
Top 10 in the world.
I remember because I bought that with my own money at like a Best Buy or something.
Probably a Circuit City.
Probably Radio Shack.
Rest in peace.
It's like a whole $20 or something. Yeah, so like more like games, less math games or shapes or
Mhm.
counting type stuff. So
Yeah, I was grinding Stronghold Crusader too, but that was a little bit later. That would have been post
post
Katrina era.
Yeah.
I put a lot of hours into Stronghold.
Yeah, we played a
Crusader.
ton of that game.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Great game.
Majesty demo. Yeah.
Excited for the new release whenever that's supposed to happen.
Yeah, the like remaster that's supposed to be later
July,
this
I
year.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I threw Nanosaur into the document because one, I just remembered the name. And so anytime I remember the name, I have to like write it down or make a note of it. But that was a game we had a demo of.
We had a
And-
lot of demos.
Yeah, that was how we played a lot of like quote unquote real games, was mostly through demos.
Yeah.
But that
They
game
used to come in cereal boxes.
I know.
So-
that game was such a like fever dream of a game too, because
Yeah.
you were a little raptor with a jetpack running around. I just mostly remember running away from T-Rexes. Like I think you were supposed to collect DNA or something on them or what, I don't know, but like
I was convinced that game wasn't real until it got brought up a few years ago. Yeah, that was one of the questions I was going to bring up as far as like this conversation is what is, when you think back to your childhood, what is like a game that is obscure that you don't think that the general masses would know about, that you have some sort of nostalgic attachment to, and that one is definitely definitely
as
up
obscure
there.
as I can get.
I don't think I've ever heard of that game ever since we played the demo.
No, and like I've been able to look up some stuff from when we were kids and find like emulators or people who have uploaded like YouTube videos. Like I got nostalgic for Barbie as Rapunzel, which is one I had way back when. And I was able to find a YouTube video of somebody going through the whole game and like clicking on everything and doing everything. And the whole video was like 22 minutes long. Like there's,
Yeah.
you think about how much time it felt like you sunk into those games. But like there's nothing on Nanosaur. I think there's maybe a Wikipedia article about it. And it's sparse. So like digging way back, what's probably your earliest you can think of, Braedon?
I think it's the pinball. I have a memory of probably between 2002 and 2004 getting on the desktop computer in that little what used to be the office, or actually no, this
No,
would have been,
0304 would have been my bedroom.
yeah, it wasn't the bedroom. It was
in the den.
It must have been
Yeah.
in the den, although my memory puts it in that little cubby that where your room used to be, but it
Well,
was
we used-
definitely
Well, the
before.
computer was in y'all's room for a little bit.
Yeah, that was like Crusader Majesty days when it was in our room.
Yeah, but it was definitely before Katrina because
'Cause
it
it
was
was
the
the-
house when it was one
Yeah.
story. And
Yeah.
So anyways, it was being on that computer. It was a classic like Dell desktop. It was all beige because everything was beige back then.
Mm-hmm.
Even my memory is kind of beige. And and I was I remember sitting down and trying to turn it on by turning on the monitor because I didn't understand that monitors weren't computers, and playing the pinball game. And I remember asking Dad what a computer was and how it worked. And he just said, "Well, son, there's a motherboard in there." And I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, "Oh, cool. All right."
And now you're a computer scientist.
Yeah, by
Software
trade.
engineer. So
Yeah, I'm technically a software engineer, but my job title is computer scientist. So,
What about you, Dylan? What's the earliest you can think of?
I mean, the earliest I can think of like playing a video game was back when like I lived in New Orleans, so it would have been like 4 or 5,
like 1982.
Nope.
His parents took him to the arcade.
Yeah, right.
But like
Playing
some of,
Mrs. Pac-Man.
like some of our friends or my parents' friends there that also had kids that like we would get together with and hang out with.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember playing, it was some like Jurassic Park game. Would have been like SNES or N64 era. Maybe like a Genesis or something like that. I don't know. Like I was 4, so I don't really understand what it was. So like I remember that. I remember the Donkey Kong 64 game.
Mm-hmm.
And like a couple of other things like that from like way early in my life. But then like the first like real games that I played like on my own, I remember being like, there was a Star Wars Jedi Outcast like PC game, I think,
Okay.
that we had on. Like I think I bought it with my own money at like it came in a little CD jewel case basically.
Mhm.
And it was Star Wars, so it was like fine. I remember that. I played a lot of like NHL 99 back in the day. And I think the obscure one is probably a game called Robot Arena. During the peak of like the BattleBots Robot Wars era.
I remember seeing you play that coming
Yeah.
over to your house.
I don't know how I got it or why. Like I don't know how I ended up in possession of that game, but I did. And you would basically like design your little robot and put in batteries and like pistons to shoot like little spikes into, or like a swinging arm for an axe or something. It was basically build your own robot for Robot Wars and then go into like these arenas and fight other robots sort of thing. I remember doing that for a long time. And then like way later was like the Majesty era,
Mhm.
Age
Yeah.
of Empires, that sort of thing, Age of Mythology. But I didn't own a console until GameCube. So most of my like N64 memories are going to someone else's house and playing Smash Brothers or Mario Kart or Mario Party or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing because I have really fragmented memories because the GameCube was my first console as well. Classic older child thing where I was like 12 or 11 getting my first console.
Did
and
all the work to get the console.
Braedon was like
and
6. But I have a memory of going to like our neighbor's house across the street that like I only went to their house a couple times. We weren't like really
yeah,
close
Mhm.
with them, but that was where I first saw Mortal Kombat.
nice.
And then I remember Super Mario World
Yeah.
at another neighbor's house.
I remember that.
And then I have very vague memories of going to a gym with my mom that had like a kid's room. Like you could put your kids in there while you worked out. And they had a Super Nintendo. And I remember they had Donkey Kong Country.
Mhm.
And that was like my main experience with Donkey Kong Country until meeting Caleb,
Yeah.
who had all of the
We were-
all the games.
We were pretty heavily PC up until we met we moved here and met the Van Ices and
heavily PC for the late 90s, early 2000s, and a collection of demo discs. Like
Yeah.
we
weren't grinding EverQuest.
No. We were like
that.
PC gamers,
Yeah.
but like we played games on the
we
home
had
computer.
handhelds. So like
That's true.
We took a road trip up to Washington State, and for that trip, our parents bought Aubrey and I Game Boy Colors because they knew that it was going to be a long time in the
Worthy
car.
investment.
Yeah.
And so I had like an Indiana Jones game and a Looney Tunes game, and
Had a Barbie game. I think we had like a Wario game.
I don't know. Yeah, I know we had one at some point. I don't know if that was in like the
Didn't
initial
you have
collection.
the iconic Scrooge McDuck game?
Oh yeah,
too?
DuckTales.
Yeah, DuckTales.
Yeah, we had
Greatest
DuckTales.
soundtrack of all time.
It was
Which I do have 2 copies of that.
whoa.
I know. Yeah, I've actually
Wow.
recently, like not recently, a few years ago.
Are we trying to be chronological with this, or are we just jumping around? Because I just had a memory pop up from talking about road trips. I'm just thinking about going to New Mexico and Sid Meier's Pirates
In the
Yeah.
back of the van.
just in the back of the van for
On what?
on a laptop.
on a laptop.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And it felt like we played that game for a week straight because that drive felt like an eternity. But
so long.
um,
There's all
yeah.
3 of us in the back, and Grandma and Grandpa in the middle, and Mom and Dad up front.
yeah, and I remember playing Sid Meier's, and while we would like take turns playing it, and then while you were playing it, I think we had one of those portable DVD players that looked like a little like chunky
Mhm.
laptop. And I remember watching the Hugh Jackman Van Helsing movie on the way out there.
What a great road
Yeah,
trip.
core
I
memory.
was gonna say that may have been the same one where I picked up the last Harry Potter book.
Yeah, so
too.
you were probably reading because you were reading a lot in that.
Yeah.
It was
period of
great
time.
because back then it was just trial and error figuring out these games, and so
Mhm.
like you had
Yeah.
all the time
Yeah.
in the world.
You
to
weren't being
backseat of
dumped
that car.
on with dopamine the whole time you were playing them. You had to earn
Yep.
it.
Well, but also like this is early internet, so you definitely didn't get it in a car to
No.
look anything up. And even if you
Oh,
wanted to
no.
look something up, it was like a game fax, like ASCII art, like
Mhm.
document, text document
Mm-hmm.
that tried to describe in words what you were supposed to do with 0 pictures. So
Which we
Or a
had
magazine.
yeah,
If you had.
Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy. We printed that off.
or a Prima Games guide.
Mm-hmm.
So
The other road trip memory I have is I took like one of those tiny kind of cube shaped TVs, and I wedged it in between like
Like a
my
CRT?
seat. Yeah, my seat and like the seat in front of me, and I just played Ultimate Spider-Man on my GameCube. Like
Was that the one where you were just on top of high rises and the ground was just fog?
no, that was the N64 one. This
Okay.
came after the like iconic Spider-Man 2. It was like cell shaded, and you could play as Venom. You played as Venom
Oh, yeah, I
and
remember
Spider-Man, and it was more comic book style.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just played that game for like the 21-hour drive that we were going out there. The screen between my legs, so it's like the opposite of playing the demos at Walmart where you're like
Yeah.
looking up the whole time. I was like looking down the whole time.
Yep.
Yeah, Braedon and I were like mostly a half step behind you when it came to the handhelds for a while.
Yeah, you always had the like upgraded version of the
Yeah.
device.
So like you and I had Game Boy Colors, but then you got a Game Boy Advance, and then
Yeah.
Braedon and I got Game Boy Advance SPs, and then you got the DS.
The chunky DS.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then we got the DS
Like
Lite.
Teal blue. Well, it wasn't teal.
Mine
it was
was
like a
silver.
purple. Oh,
His
silver.
was silver. Yeah, his was.
Yeah, I think Caleb had the
In my
purple
mind,
one.
it's that like dark purple color. Yeah.
No, I never. I always opted for the most neutral kind of colors I could get for my Nintendo devices. Usually the silver, platinum, whatever they called it.
Yeah, I think I wanted like red or something, and Dad was like, "No, you're getting pink." I'm like,
Which is funny.
Well, because
Okay.
I think he wanted. No, he got a black one. Mine
Yeah.
was that like pearl white color, which
Yeah.
got really gross over time because
it was white.
it's
Yeah.
white. And then yours was that it was the kind of
Yeah, it was coral pink.
coral pink. Yeah, very faint pink.
Like the color of that pillow.
yeah, I'm
Yes.
sure the listeners really appreciate that.
The pillow is
Just
the color of
imagine
the
a pillow.
DS.
Yeah, imagine a pillow the color of a
Yeah,
coral
coral
pink
pink.
DS.
Of a DS Lite. Not my DS.
No, Aubrey's DS. Your DS was also white, or was it black?
It was silver.
Didn't you
We
get a
just
DS
went over
Lite
this.
later though?
No.
You never had a DS
No, I
Lite?
don't think you ever got a DS.
And
Did you get a DSi?
I skipped the 3DS. The
Oh,
DS
so-
was like my last handheld until the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, and I didn't get a 3DS until college because I
Our
wanted to play
dad's
Animal
DS
Crossing,
Light was black.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had the black one.
and it
which
had the
I
like
have.
Phantom Hourglass like sticker.
Yeah, yeah. I remember playing Phantom Hourglass on his DSi because my DSi, I broke that DSi over a friend of mine's head.
Still friends to this day.
We talk occasionally.
Yeah, because Braedon and I both played Pokemon too. Like we both had like time spent in Pokemon.
Yeah,
doing more like the handheld stuff.
I had Pokemon Pearl,
Mhm.
and I beat that game like 4 times, and then we went and got a what were they were called like
Was it Blue Rescue Team or
no, it was the like hacker chip,
Oh,
and you would put the game
action
inside
replay
it.
chip.
Action replay, that's what it
Yep.
was. We went and got an action replay, and so on my second or third playthrough, I just told it to give me like 999 rare candies, and then just plussed my whole team up to level 100, and then went to the like PvP island. Yeah, good times.
Mostly use the action replay chip for Animal Crossing because there was
Yeah, you could skip time with it or something, right?
well,
Or-
you could skip time by adjusting it, but what we would do is we would skip time because there was a mod that converted weeds in your town into a bag of 69,000 bells.
I remember that. Yeah.
And so you jump forward like a year, have all these weeds in your
Yep.
and
Convert
then
it
you
to
do them,
bells.
convert it to
and
bells
then jump back with
Yeah.
all your money. Yeah.
Not 42,000. 69.
And then the mole would get mad at you for skipping time.
Yeah, this was like,
Wild World.
well, yeah, but this
Yeah.
was like Aubrey and Braedon kind of after I had stopped playing
Yeah.
Animal Crossing.
You'd hopped off like the handheld stuff. I think
You had a 360 at this point, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure a lot of my memories of that were like at Namo and Grandpa's, which feels like during like that post Katrina era where you also just weren't playing a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, my core DS Lite memories are probably 06 to 08, 09. Because then I briefly got on World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I was going to say that was
Um,
peak World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
days
like
for me.
08 to 10 or 11, and then I discovered Minecraft in like there was overlap between World of Warcraft and Minecraft, but one of the guys in our Boy Scout troop, Brandon Randall, I remember being on a camp out, and I think he was the patrol leader and I was the assistant patrol leader, so we were sharing a tent, and so that night he was telling me about this game he had found that was really cool where you can build whatever you want to build, and there's monsters that come out at night, and it's like a randomly generated world and you have to survive and do all this cool stuff. And I remember I got home from that camp out and went and downloaded it, and I could only get the free version, and it didn't have survival, so it was just like none of the cool things he was telling me about. It's like, yeah, here's a public server with a bunch of people making like words of slurs and like swastikas and stuff. It's like, cool, man. Yeah,
oh Lord.
Hasn't changed.
no, it really hasn't changed. But that's where I first tasted Minecraft, and then I convinced
You were
Dad
like, man,
to-
I love this.
I will not co-sign that on a recorded media. No, it was the building aspect of it was fun. And then I convinced Dad to let me buy the like whole game, and it was it was
Convince
$15.
Dad to let me buy means ask Dad to buy for
Well,
me.
yeah, he let me use his money to buy it. Yeah, because I was like 11 years old,
Mhm.
12 maybe.
I was in college.
And so it begins.
Let's see. Well, this would have I would have been like 13 at this point. But anyways, yeah, it had just come out of alpha. I think Minecraft was in beta at that point when I bought it.
I could never get into Minecraft purely on the aesthetics. I just could not stand the way that game looked.
Yeah, no, there was a period where it came out on Xbox, so it was a little bit after it came out on PC.
A lot of people were mad about that.
Yeah, but it came out and like in my apartment, it was kind of like a almost community apart. Like a bunch of our friends just would walk in, walk out. Like, so essentially we bought it, we turned it on, and then there were always people playing it for like 3 weeks straight, pretty much. Like we just had a shared world, and like somebody would get up and have to like go to class, and somebody else would like tap in and like take over and start building their own little thing. And so that is my Minecraft memory.
Yeah, I mean, all of my best memories playing Minecraft were the community aspects of it.
Yeah,
playing it online with
more socially.
Yeah, I was a member of which, this is, I don't even think I could say this is old internet era, but it's definitely, I don't think it's this way anymore, but I just joined a random server in the UK, and I was like maybe 14 years old, and there's all these like random British adults that are like grinding Minecraft.
Yep.
And just like getting dropped into a community that I never would have interacted with otherwise, and having my first taste of like small group politics and like people being upset at each other over really dumb things, but it felt huge because it was their whole life. But yeah, a lot of really positive memories too. Cause I like at one point the server got really big. So they did a whole clan system. And because I was one of the like first 30 members or something, I became a clan leader and had my own territory on the server. And like
the 14-year-old American kid who
I was
showed up.
I was like 15 at this point, but still, and I was
taking it back from the Brits.
Yeah,
like we do.
I know, right?
From the inside.
My approach was I will add anybody who wants to join. I don't care. So I had the biggest clan. And so and they did that as like a thing because every like 6 months they would refresh the server. So it kind of sucked in some ways because you'd spend all this time building really cool stuff and then it would all get wiped. And it usually coincided with the new release of Minecraft because the way the servers work in Minecraft is you can't host a client connecting to your server has to be on the same version of Minecraft as the server. And so people would update their Minecrafts and they wouldn't be able to connect. So they had to keep updating the server. And so the admins, and they were running plugins was the problem. So when you update the server, plugins are out of date and now everything's broken. So you have to have a fresh world. And so they would do that periodically. And so the clan thing was one of the refreshes. But then after that, they're like, all right, we're done doing that. And towards the end, they basically just said, all right, we're all at war with each other. So for like a week, it was just pandemonium. People like blowing each other's bases up, assassinating people while they're trying to mine. Yeah, it was fun.
It was like playing Rust.
Kind of, yeah. It devolved pretty quickly. But yeah, I remember spending hours on that server making a mine shaft. I mean, that's fitting, yeah.
Makes sense.
From my headquarters all the way to the server spawn. And I'm sure most listeners already know about Minecraft and online servers, but the server spawn typically is like, it's where you put your monuments, your statues, and like, this is the server and our rules and everything. And so all the major clans were interconnected into this nexus under the server spawn. So when somebody new joined, they would be greeted with these signs and it was like, clan base, whatever, go here. Clan base, whatever, go here. And you could get on a powered cart and it would shoot you across the world. And like we were spread out too. Yeah, no, that was a lot of good times. There were definitely some weird people though.
No.
Well.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So then turning the clock back a bit pre-Katrina, you had, I think,
which is a hurricane for our listeners that we're all from a place that was impacted by Hurricane Katrina, and so we measure time as in our childhood as pre-Katrina, post-Katrina.
Yeah, like post 9/11,
So if you keep-
pre-Katrina
yeah.
is this like 4-year window.
If you're wondering what this Katrina we keep referring to is, that's what it is.
Well, and because it was a pretty major upheaval in all
Yeah.
of our lives, so
yeah.
it kind of reset a lot of stuff, especially for you whose house was
Yep.
wiped off the map.
Mhm.
There are adults now that were born after
Yeah.
Katrina.
Yeah,
What?
no.
I know. It's been
It'll be
20
20
years.
years. Yeah.
this year.
You were going somewhere with that, though.
Yeah, so like you were the first person I think I recognized had an Xbox, like had a set, like didn't have a Nintendo console.
Mhm.
And I remember at that, the house that got wiped off the map,
Yeah.
you were way up on like the third story or
Mhm.
attic or whatever,
Yeah.
however your bedroom
Yeah, you were the
situation
Harry
ended
Potter
up.
I was
of
Harry
your
Potter.
family.
I don't know if it
I
was
went to
like
school
a
at
third
Hogwarts.
floor. I
Yeah.
don't know if it was a third floor or a converted attic because
I don't know either.
Delaney stayed in a converted laundry room post Katrina, so you know
Yes.
It was like
just
a
made it
third
happen.
floor because it. Well, I mean,
It was
still
yeah,
couldn't converted, but it had like a separate bedroom and bathroom and stuff up there.
yeah.
There wasn't much up there, but it was like
It was like finished.
Yeah. It was finished.
and you took
So-
the
Yeah.
main stairs to get up there. You didn't like have to
Yeah, you
crawl through a ladder.
ladder.
Yeah, that house was crazy.
That was
Yep.
crazy.
Remember the intercom system?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, Dylan's rich. Everyone.
Yeah, I was like,
Dylan's not.
Dylan's not.
But you, like, so you had the Xbox. Was that your first console?
Not there. I had a GameCube there.
Oh, okay.
So we got the Xbox post Katrina.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, because the 360 came out like probably within a month or two of Katrina happening. It was
no,
It was
because
like
Xbox
five, right?
was 06,
Yeah,
07.
360 was like 08.
Yeah.
no, there's no way. Jamie,
Yeah.
pull it up. Hold on, we gotta have it.
It was
Yeah,
like
no, because
07,
we got
08.
because it was so we had the GameCube
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
November of 05
oh
For
okay
the
well
360.
for the 360. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm that guy on a podcast.
Fact checker.
Yeah. Now the Slims, they came out in 2010, I think.
So
5-year difference from
Yeah.
generation
was like-
reset
yeah.
or refresh.
Yeah.
so we had the GameCube.
Mm.
The GameCube is now in the Gulf of Mexico. So when we found a different house after Katrina and we were having to like repurchase all of the things, it was like, let's go with the Xbox now. I think one of my friends had an Xbox that I had played, like an OG Xbox.
You're like, man, I love this controller.
No, well,
This
no,
thing is a
not so
beast.
much that. It was more so just kind of like,
It had big boy games on it.
well, there were a lot of games that I wanted to play that weren't.
Yeah, I was
On
going
the-
to say Halo.
Yeah, so Halo was on
Yeah.
there. The
Prince of Persia games.
Prince of Persia games were ones that I played on there. Knights of the Old Republic. Just a lot of Star Wars games, honestly. Now there were still a lot of Star Wars games on like GameCube, but like I don't think Battlefront was on GameCube.
I don't think it was because my first experience playing Battlefront 1 and 2 were on my neighbor friend's PS2.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it was like
Yeah.
a PS2 Xbox situation there.
Mhm.
And so since we were like in the process of repurchasing basically everything, it was like, well, like these are roughly equivalent. Like I'm going to go with this one this time. And so
Mhm.
we got that. And so that's where I started my like Xbox journey. And this was like, no, I guess
Don't
they
throw
did.
a date out there. Don't do it.
Well, I was going to say, I think at that point they did have Xbox Live because
Mhm.
Yeah, I
But-
think that launched somewhere between the original Xbox and the 360.
it did because
Yeah.
it was like Halo 2 was one of the first like big
Mhm.
online
Mhm.
games. And so I played a ton of Halo 2. I think Halo 2 is what got me out of WoW for a bit. Because like coming back after Katrina for a while, all we really had was like a PC. And I had played WoW with like my cousins. I saw they had it. And so I played a little bit on there. And then we got it. I was able to convince my mom, like, hey, like, can I play WoW? Like, we can keep up with my cousins, we can play with my cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cousins.
And so
let's go bowling.
So
Another great game from
From our childhood.
well,
it came out when I was
I had it in college.
yeah.
We had the whole system of, if we hear the parents coming up the stairs, quick,
switch games.
Switch the TV. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just watching a blue static, just hanging out up here.
Yeah, I didn't realize the TV was on.
Yeah, I was just reading.
Yep.
I think WoW probably helped get you out of WoW as well, along with Halo 2.
No, I mean, back then I was really enjoying WoW, you know, like that was because I guess when I'm thinking of it, it was like my initial time playing WoW, where I was playing like right after
Burning Crusade.
Burning Crusade had come out.
So you didn't get out for very long.
No. So I got out for a bit, and that's when I was playing like Halo and Battlefront 2 competitively, and a very similar story to Braedon, because there wasn't random matchmaking back in the day. You joined like a server.
Mm-hmm. And so communities would build.
Yeah. And so I hopped in some server on Battlefront 2, and then found myself playing with like the top like 25 people on the leaderboard constantly in Battlefront 2, and got into like the competitive Battlefront 2 scene.
Yeah,
So-
started to develop beef with
Yeah.
certain gamer tags.
Well, and just
Recognize
because it's the
people.
same guys all the time, you
Yeah.
know, like you
Mhm.
hopped
Yeah.
in and like we all knew it was, you know, because it was the top of the leaderboards people. So we would all just kind of hop into the same ones. You'd see like one of those people, and you'd hop into their
Mhm.
like match and play with them. And, you know, so a bunch of the people that haven't been online in like 10 years on my Xbox friends list are like those people.
Mhm.
So, but it's very similarly, it's like, you know, 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid, you know, bunch of adults playing
Mhm.
Battlefront 2,
Mm-hmm.
which is, you know, Star Wars game. So it's like, they were probably chill.
Yeah,
So-
I never got to experience Battlefront online because we were a bit younger, and my friends' parents were like, "Yeah, you can play local. That's it. You're not allowed to go online." But it's still a good time because that one of the best bot match video
Mhm.
games of all time. Like you could have a great time
100%.
just playing with bots.
That is a lost art form
Yeah.
in today's day and age.
Yeah.
And it seems like it shouldn't be. They could do it back then. Why can't you do it now?
I mean-
well, you can't make as much money off of it.
They still, like Marvel Rivals has a versus AI mode.
You make everybody play online, and then you sell skins so that they can look cool when they're playing online with other people.
That's where you make the bots all have the skins so that you fight against them and you're like, that's a cool invisible woman skin. Let me get it.
Yeah, but you can't flex on anybody else if you were to buy that skin. You know what I mean?
Flex on the bots.
Well, here's our generational difference.
Generational difference.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't care. I played the bot matches so that at the end of the bot match, I'm sitting here at the top
With
of the
like 100
leaderboard with
kills,
like
yeah.
400 kills, and the bots are like
Bowing
negative
down.
12. Like,
You know, one of my greatest achievements in gaming is on Battlefield 3, Operation Metro.
So I know that had to come up at some point. You were
Yeah.
real
Oh,
heavy into
Battlefield 3
or
was
Battlefield 3.
like Battlefield 3 was similar. It was pretty much right after Minecraft, but I was still playing Minecraft, just not as much. And I honestly, it wasn't a crazy amount of time. I've seen people post their playtime on certain games, and it's like thousands of hours. I was around 500 hours. It was like 29 days of playtime. I didn't even make Colonel 100, which was like the real sweats in Battlefield 3. But
Which kernel were you in?
I was Colonel. I think I hit 89, so I was pretty close to 100. But it was kind of like a prestige system, like in Call of Duty, where you max out and then you have to go through the entire rank scale again and max out again. So every time you got a Colonel rank, you had gone through the entire rank scale again. So I had done it 89 times. Yeah. And there were people who made it to 100. And those
That's
people
crazy.
That's only 11 more than
I know.
you.
Yeah, I know. And you could also get rankings on the different vehicles and the weapons depending on how you use them. So like the real obnoxious people on a Battlefield 3 server were the people who had fully ranked the M16 or the M3. I don't even remember exactly what the gun was called, but it was unbalanced, like a broken gun on the assault class. And then people who had maxed out the fighter jets. If you got into an F-18 and you were trying to dogfight somebody who had maxed out the F-18, it was the most frustrating experience. So I would rank myself on a relative scale, probably 6 or 7 in the like pecking order of sweat in Battlefield 3. So I would routinely be top 5 leaderboard dunking on people, but there was always a bigger fish, in the words of Qui-Gon Jinn. And so
generational differences.
Yeah. So yeah,
Dylan quotes Han Solo.
And this and I love Battlefield 3 because it was before they got really annoying with the like skill balancing algorithms in online competitive games.
Mhm.
Oh, so it was when you could still just dominate.
Exactly.
And it wouldn't like throw you with other good
Exactly.
people.
Because Battlefield 3 worked like you were saying with Halo, where you would pick a server and you join that server.
That was Battlefront 2. Yeah. Halo
Or Battlefield.
Halo
Battlefield
actually
2.
did have the like MMR skill-based matchmaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were servers that were like well-known servers in that era. So you could put a photo in the server description and like the name of your server. So like different clans with their clan tags would have their own servers. I saw a lot of sexually explicit things in the pictures that were put in the server listings because people would get really brave with it. But yeah, I'd play with my friends and there were like 4 or 5 servers we'd always go back to because they were always popping and they'd be really fun. But yeah, there were always, you'd have 2 or 3 good games where you're just crushing, like a 3 to 5 KD ratio, ranking up all your stuff, and then a Colonel 100 would join and just ruin your night because they were just sweatier than you were and
the terminology
and could just like like playing Gulf of Oman and you're in the assault helicopter shredding people, and then all of a sudden some dude in an F-35 will not leave you alone and keep shooting you down, and then they start spawn camping you, and it just would get really annoying. But
and the parents would be downstairs like, do you hear all the profanity coming out of Braedon's room?
Yeah, I would get mad. I would get very frustrated. But I don't know if I ever completed my initial thought, which was Operation Metro. There would be servers that would run 24/7 Operation Metro. And if you've ever played the Battlefield games, you know what Operation Metro is, and you know how chaotic it is, and you know how fun it is if it's going well. And I would get on with some friends of mine, and we would do the ones where they would set the ticket counter to max, and it would be on Conquest. So there's 3 bases, and there's like
so
10,
it's like a 5-hour match.
Yep. So it's like 10,000 tickets per team.
That's disgusting.
And so that means one team has to have all of their players die a cumulative 10,000 times before the game ends.
Base Battlefield matches are too long.
Or actually,
for
no,
me.
that's incorrect. That would be on Deathmatch. This was Conquest. So the tickets would just bleed depending on how many bases you had. And there was like a ratio. But either way, yeah, you're looking at 2 to 3 hour games to a point where I had played certain Metro games that made my Xbox Red Ring of Death because it would just overheat from playing for so long. And it would really suck because I remember one where I was about to break 100 kills and I was top of the leaderboard, 90 plus kills, and there were maybe 30 or 40 tickets left. The game was about to end. And my Xbox, it would blue screen, and then I'd get a Red Ring of Death. And so it sucked because that was 2-3 hours of gameplay, and I wasn't getting any of the progression for it. Like the XP, the weapon XP, the rank XP.
So maybe don't play 3-hour matches.
Well, you could do
So
that.
maybe-
or wrap your Xbox in a towel.
Well, and at that time, I didn't understand how any of that worked at all. And so, yeah, there are probably ways I could have mitigated it. But
So it'd red ring, but then you could boot it back up?
Yeah, it would do a blinking red ring. And
so
it
was just, hey, I overheated.
Yeah,
I didn't actually melt the motherboard.
I had to basically do like a fail safe shutdown so you don't destroy your Xbox.
Yeah.
Because I think they added that to the firmware in the Slims, because I think I was playing on a Slim at that point.
Well, and back then too, it was spinning a disc for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't just installing once off a disc and then verifying that you own the game. It was like, no, like I'm going to spin this disc and shoot a laser at it for 3 hours.
Yeah, the 360 would get hot. It would get hot.
So maybe you were
and we didn't understand
Colonel 100. You just didn't get the credit for it.
I mean, in spirit, yes, I was a Colonel 100. I had the mentality. I had the grind set of a Colonel 100. I played that game a lot.
So there's a question I wanted to ask before we, while we're on this topic, and that is like, what game or maybe few games do you think formulated or set you on the path for the type of games that you've like continued to enjoy? Like when you look back, Battlefield was super big for you, but that's not necessarily the games that you still gravitate towards now. Like, what game from your childhood do you think kind of set, like, you're like, this is my kind of video game, like this is what I want to keep playing?
It's your bailiwick.
Yeah, what's your bailiwick?
I don't know what that means, but I'll...
I don't even have to say it. My point's proven.
That's an interesting question, because I feel like I went through phases, but early childhood, it was a lot of the Pokemons and the Marios and all the staples of Nintendo. But then
we haven't even talked about Zelda, which was
and the Zelda. But I was never as into Zelda as you guys were.
Yeah, no, it was more for me and Aubrey.
Yeah.
Like even recently, I tried to play Breath of the Wild, and it didn't hook me. I played like 4 or 5 hours, and was just like, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. Yeah, I mean, so playing the Nintendo games and then getting into competitive games. I think for me, honestly, the draw of gaming now is the social aspect. I do enjoy RPG games, but I think I'm at a place in life where I'm too busy to like dedicate
like RPG time to a game.
Yeah, and if it's like a great game, I will do it, because then it's more than gaming to me. It's like an experience. Case in point, playing The Witcher. Like I played The Witcher 3 probably 8 or 9 times all the way through since it's released.
But that did
10 years ago now.
Yeah, that did come out before you had.
Yeah,
before you were busy.
But even once I started college and kind of took a step back from gaming religiously and was maybe only gaming like 1 or 2 days a week at most, still The Witcher was like the go-to if I wasn't playing socially. But now for me, a lot of gaming is just an excuse to talk to people that I don't get to talk to that much anymore, because they also play those games. Like case in point, I still play Minecraft. I was playing Minecraft a year ago, and it was because some friends of mine had a server, and we would just use that as an excuse to like do something together while we're catching up and talking about stuff. But the question was games that influence your current taste. And I guess, yeah, I mean, The Witcher came out when I was still in high school, Witcher 3, and I played Witcher 2, and I definitely enjoy a well-made fantasy RPG.
Played a lot of Skyrim.
Played a ton of Skyrim, yeah. Skyrim was around the same time as Battlefield 3. And then, yeah, the Nintendo games. I mean, I don't think I could pick one game that was the seed of anything, you know? Like, I think it was more circumstantial. Like, the reason I played so much Battlefield 3 is because one of my best friends moved away, and that was my only way to have time with that person and to be able to catch up with them and talk to them. Was playing games with them.
Well, and like, Andrew played and loved The Witcher 3, so that was a point of connection for like the two of you. And then you and I both played Pokemon and like Animal Crossing, and so even the more solo stuff, it was still like a point of connection with other people, because
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I loved WoW. I mean, WoW was a good intersection of fantasy RPG and like I'm a big guy covered in metal hitting things, but also, interacting with people, socializing, having those connections. Growing up, homeschooled, extremely introverted, having good like close friends, but like not a ton of social outlets.
Yeah.
Gaming was a good way to get that.
Yeah, we weren't the like, in clubs or doing stuff at the
right. And at the same time, we weren't like the jean skirt homeschoolers that like our free time was reading books, and
we weren't 4-H kids. Like we didn't have that element. Yeah.
Do you think we'll get the crew back together for the new GTA?
Even if it's for one night, I would love that. That'd be awesome. Because we completely glossed over GTA, and that was another game that I put a ton of time into.
We played
GTA
so
Online.
much. GTA
that was a
Online.
whole era. Was playing GTA Online.
That was closer to adulthood for me, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was solidly in college. I was in my like senior year. So
I was a freshman in high school.
Excellent.
So I would have been early college, probably.
Yeah.
It
was. Yeah, I remember the online launch being a mess.
It
took
was
like
a
2
disaster.
weeks
I was gonna say because I was in college when the game came out, and then it was like a year
it was
before
September of 2012, and then online
came out.
Online launched that October, but it wasn't probably till after Christmas that it was like a stable experience to just jump in.
You just boot up into a weird janky like screen listening to one radio station.
You may have read this article, but apparently I can't remember who found this bug, but somebody found a bug in the source code of the game, which was why the online loading screen took so freaking long. There weren't any like hardware limitations or practical reasons why it took so long. There was just a bug in the source code.
Didn't
a bug
they get a
that
reward
Rockstar
for
themselves
finding it?
couldn't find.
I feel like they got a cash
I think they
reward
may
or
have
something
been paid
for like turning it
after
in.
they
I
fixed
do vaguely
it.
remember that.
It was around the next gen release too, so like that helped. But yeah, there's a noticeable once it was fixed, like getting into online was, orders of magnitude faster.
You still spend a lot of time in loading screens between like, events and
all
stuff,
the different like,
but
the races and all the, that game, GTA 5 is both the best thing Rockstar's ever done, and then GTA Online is arguably one of the worst things they've ever done. I feel like.
I mean, it definitely affected them as a company.
Yeah,
and they were
we didn't get any single player DLCs for one.
Well, and they were like making up online. Like there was no blueprint really that they were following. They were just kind of like stacking things on top of each other.
Yeah, they had
like building the railroad in front of the train, essentially.
Well, I remember for at least 2 or 3 years into online, the big carrot on the stick was heists. They're going to add heists eventually.
They were supposed to be like 3 months after launch
exactly.
or something.
Well, heists were supposed to be at launch, and then they're like, oh, we're going to add them. And then I don't think they added heists until after the next gen release.
Yeah, heist was like a big comeback event for our crew. It was like, hey, they finally added them. Let's all get back on GTA again.
But yeah, talk about a game I was sweaty on. I was also very sweaty on GTA.
Joe's terrible at driving in that game, just FYI. I doubt he's any better now.
I know. I always...
He's not been playing
I don't wanna
Rockstar games with driving.
I don't want to flex too hard or anything, but I almost always won the races in the group whenever we did the races. My record was skewed dramatically because of that. Like I'd play online races with randos, and my win-loss would be probably 2 or 3 times higher than anyone else, but it was all just
from beating Joe.
Yeah, from beating Joe. Like Joe, or like whenever we'd play with Richie, like these people who had lives and couldn't grind like I was. Yeah, and then I got lucky too because I found a guy who had a modded bounty put on him in one of my servers, and so he had like $1 billion, like $900 million bounty on him, and he had
Braedon playing at like 11 o'clock in the middle of the day.
Yeah. And it was I felt like I had found Moby Dick. Like it was this like I was sweating, like my heart's racing. I'm like, I have to get this dude. And he had gone to his apartment to hide because in GTA Online, when you have a bounty put on you, if you wait it out, you get the money from the bounty. So he was just waiting it out because he knew if he waited long enough, he was going to get the bounty. And somehow, I'm not a very persuasive person, but somehow I went to his apartment in the game and I texted him through the little like texting app in the game. And I was like, dude, let me kill you and we'll split the bounty. And he was like, hell no, dude. And so I was like, okay, the art of the deal. Let me kill you and I'll give you 2/3 of the bounty. And I somehow talked him down to where I was going to get, I think it ended up being a fifth. I got 200 million because the bounty was for like $1 billion.
It's still crazy. I would not have like trusted some random kid in a GTA server.
I don't know why he did, but he came out because he didn't do the mod. Somebody did it to him. So he didn't know I don't think he knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was the modder and he was already loaded and didn't care. But he somehow he came out. The moment he loaded in, I was already aiming at the little spawn point. I capped him in the face like immediately. And then
I took all the money.
No, I sent him the split. I sent him the 800 million.
He was an honorable homeschooler.
Yeah. And I mean, at that point, now it's so inflated, the GTA Online
200
economy.
million's nothing now, but back then it was...
Yeah, this was 2000, I don't know, 13, 14. Like it was pretty fresh into online. And so I split the money with him. I think I may have even added his gamer tag. That's what it was. I think I added him on live as a way to be like, no, I'm not going to just run away with the money, dude.
You can report me now.
Right. Online profile.
Yeah. And so, hey, it worked. And so, yeah, I sent him the money and then went on my way. And at that point, 200 million was, I think the most expensive car was like $1 million at that point in the game. So I bought all the apartments, bought all the cars. I was buying stuff for people in the group because there was a way you could get money to other people that was a lot easier back then. I don't remember how. They made it harder to share money in online.
What about you, Dylan? What was what would you say was the game that set you on your path?
That's tough because
Dark Souls 1.
No,
your first year of college.
That was also college. Because there's a lot of games that I played back in the day that were like Braedon, very like social games. Like WoW was a purely social game. Halo, purely social game. Like Rock Band, like a lot of those type of games were more social. And now that I have a job where I have to actually like go in and like talk to people as my day job,
don't want to socialize anymore.
I'm kind of done with like
terrible.
the socialization part. I don't need that anymore in my like gaming time. So like I don't do like I'll still get on and like play some video games with some people. Like my brother and I will get on and play Hunt or Outlast Trials or something. But like we're not doing a bunch of like You're not
partying up with randos or
I'm not like finding myself with the urge to resub to WoW for like the socialization aspect of it, So like there's some of it where it's like, yeah, I feel like I've kind of changed there, but then there's other parts of it where it's like I can definitely see like I've been chasing that Majesty high for forever, Majesty is one of the greatest games of all time. From there, I found myself playing like RimWorld and some of these other games, just looking for something that gives a similar hit to like what Majesty was. And then like back in the day too, I played, Knights of the Old Republic, BioWare, some of my favorite games are Mass Effect games or Dragon Age or like, sort of those big RPGs with a big story that are very similar to, came out of RPGs like Knights of the Old Republic, So I can definitely see some of that there. Even just kind of not that I think Zelda is like super similar to like Dark Souls or whatever, but like there are aspects of it where it's kind of like you're going on a little adventure and, sword and bow and arrow and stuff.
Epic adventures.
So there's parts of that too that I can kind of see. Those are the ones that come to mind. for me anyway, is, like sort of the RTS typey games, and then some of the just like exploration heavy games of my childhood I can see. So
I mean, obviously, like my strongest association of gaming with you would be more social things.
yeah.
So like when I think of like playing games with Dylan, I think of Left 4 Dead, Rock Band,
Wingspan, Among Us, Phasmophobia.
It's a bit later, but yeah.
a little bit later. Like early memories. It's big Left 4 Dead, having the 2 TVs set up.
That was one time too. I love that gets brought up every single time, but it was a single time.
It was so much fun.
It was a single like
That's
Left 4 Dead like versus mode match.
I'm telling you, we need to bring LAN parties back.
We could.
Yeah, we should.
Hey.
Well,
there's something magical about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say sometime we'll all just bring our TVs and our Xboxes over here and just set up around.
Find random corners.
All over the place. I mean, you've probably got the most empty space right now, probably.
Yeah, it's true.
Brutal.
Aubrey, what about you?
Yeah, and then like Rock Band, but then like for Braedon, it's probably more like I associate like Pokemon, like the memories of that with you.
Yeah, Blue Rescue Team.
Yeah, you were on
Iconic.
the like rescue team stuff with me. They did not connect with Red Rescue Team when I made them play it.
Oh no, that game
In
was
2024.
Yeah,
Shocking.
I wasn't 12.
awesome. Hey, I will say I'm pretty sure Blue Rescue Team was the first video game that made me cry.
Mm-hmm.
Was it because you were...
Dylan was close,
Yeah, I was not.
mostly out of frustration.
No, the end of the game is like actually pretty freaking depressing. It's
Yeah, it's pretty poignant. It
Yeah.
hits you.
And I was at like
Where
a
you were
friend's
like-
birthday party, and I had to like go upstairs to like shed a couple of.
Wait, so
manly
you were
tears.
playing, you were at a friend's birthday party, and you're like, play Blue
Well,
Rescue
I'm
Team.
playing Pokemon.
The candles and everything, that was all done. We were just like hanging out at that point, and they all had DSs too. Like we were all
Mhm.
playing various flavors of Pokemon because they had Pearl. Actually, no, they had Diamond, and I would judge them for it because Pearl is better.
Okay.
And I also played Platinum, but that was basically Pearl and Diamond combined. But
Did you finish your thought, Aubrey? The games that were your like formative,
I was just talking about the
Yeah.
social aspect of.
that like set you on your path?
Oh, me? I didn't even answer that question.
Well, that's what I was directing at you.
Oh, that set me on my path. Probably Blue Rescue Team.
It makes sense.
Effervescent and vaguely about death.
What about-
kind of a thing? Wild World, like Pokemon, Animal Crossing, Wild World.
What about Legend of Zelda?
I mean, Twilight Princess
Twilight
is
Princess.
one that I
Yeah.
love, but then
Zelda's
like
kind
no
of an
other
anomaly,
game has
yeah.
really like captured, like no other Zelda game has really captured that for me.
And she hasn't played Elden Ring yet.
I have. That's
That-
not a Zelda game,
The
but yes.
vibes could be
Well,
similar.
it's not,
yeah.
but
I mean, could be. And then honestly, probably like mobile gaming was pretty significant because I would do games like Sally's Spa and Diner Dash and a lot of those like quote unquote cozy like resource management games.
Yeah, I
Are still
wanted
things I gravitate towards.
at some point I wanted to bring that up because I got an iPod Touch
Mm-hmm.
one year, and that was my first exposure to mobile gaming. And I had a thought about this game before we started, and I pulled it up. Did you guys ever play the Tron Legacy game?
Yes.
I
No.
watched
On-
Tron Legacy when I was in college.
I played the Linkin Park 8-bit adventure game or whatever that let you get a free song.
So it was. I remember a game mode in this where, I mean, it's from Tron, but all the bikes, they leave their little
Yeah, it was
like
almost kind of like
blades
Snake
of
but,
color.
like,
Yeah, and you would try to cut other people off and make them crash into your little
Your
tail.
light trail. Yeah.
Oh, I do remember it. I remember that game. I don't remember playing it on mobile, but
Yeah,
I played
played
the
a lot of it
GTA
on-
5 version of it.
yeah, maybe that's, or maybe I just remember it from the movie. They
yeah,
did
that
in
is
the movie.
from like the Tron universe.
Both of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting what you said about Zelda, Aubrey, because for me, I think that was kind of like the path setter. I think back to Zelda games, the like kind of grand adventure RPG light, and then the other thing was like I played a lot of like Ninja Turtles, Batman Rise of Sun Tzu, and like just basically like third person action, like kind of beat 'em up style games. Later, I'd get into like Darksiders and stuff like that, and I think that has kind of led me to where I am now, where I like stylish action games and I like RPGs, and then I like Souls-like is kind of Souls is like the combination of those two genres and like a beautiful marriage. And so once I kind of understood the language of those games, that's why they've clicked so well for me, because it's like the sense of adventure mixed with intentional combat. And so definitely looking back, I think I played a lot of just kind of third person melee action fighting, like beat 'em up kind of games on like the GameCube, and then got into more stuff on the 360 that was still like Assassin's Creed, third person open world exploration. Combat was a little bit different, a little bit rougher, but that was also kind of when like story started to matter more in games, like with Assassin's Creed and Red Dead and GTA and stuff like that. I was like, oh, there's actually
Batman Arkham,
a narrative to follow here, as opposed to just So, but I think I definitely trace it back to like just kind of brawler fighting. I mean, even like the Lord of the Rings games back in the day were all about the fighting. And then the flip side of that was like Zelda being this kind of crazy magical adventure set in this mystical land.
Well, and that was part of the weird thing about the Blue Rescue Team, like the Pokemon games, is they had a story, like they had a plot that Pokemon games had not had. And so like most of the games I played
arguably still don't have.
Like, this is true.
Yeah.
And so like that for me was like, oh, like there can be a story in this, because I was a big reader. Like that ate up a lot of my time as a kid. It was more reading books than like I played plenty of video games too. But so once I realized like, oh, the two can go together, but a video game for me was much more time commitment than a book was. Like I could tear through a book.
You have to do the gameplay.
Yeah, exactly. I could tear through a book. So like it's harder. The time investment is a little bit trickier, which is why I prefer smaller experiences, because it's less of an investment, and that way if the story is kind of like then I haven't sunk too much time into it. But there are some like AAA like big experiences, like the Batman Arkham games, like the Mass Effect games, like games like that enough people have been like, hey, these are great, you should check them out, you'll really enjoy them, that I'll get into it. And so it's not genre specific, because I like third person kind of shooters or the Tomb Raider games, but then like Baldur's Gate totally clicked with me, and that's a turn-based combat CRPG.
Yes, it is. It most certainly is.
What about you?
I just said mine. Do you guys have anything else that you want to mention in closing, wrapping this thing up before we move into our closing segment?
I feel like we didn't talk enough about racing games.
Which one?
That's a you thing.
I mean, Braedon and I played a ton of Midnight Club.
Midnight Club was awesome. I played so much Forza Horizon. The first Forza Horizon is still
games of our childhood.
Dude, I mean, I guess I was in high school at that point. I was in high school at that point, but still.
Braedon's still a child.
I thought we were just being nostalgic about games. I don't know.
Well, no, I'm just thinking like the first Forza Horizon was like post college for me.
I mean, there's like a 10-year age gap between you two.
Not quite. It's less than that.
It's not quite 10.
Because my middle brother is 10 years from me. So, and he's older than Mikey. But
yeah. But we did play. We played a lot of Midnight. I mean, Braedon and I went. Braedon and I went through an era when I was arguably not a child. I was, leaving my teens, but he was still like a younger teen. Where we played a lot of games. We played through like the Saints Row games. We played a lot of Far Cry together. We played
Army of Two.
Army of Two. We played all of Borderlands 2 together, like split
Excellent
screen.
game. Excellent
Oh, yeah.
game.
We played Call of Duty
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
when those were still peak.
Yeah, we played a lot of Black Ops 2. That was
Yeah.
a big
Mhm.
one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that was a great game.
So that like kind of is like arguably out, depending on where you define childhood. Like
Yeah.
if we're talking about like,
Your brain stops developing at 25. So
oh well,
you can,
yeah, going
An
way
argument
back
could be made.
in the Wayback Machine. It was a lot of like Pac-Man World 2 and stuff on the GameCube that we were playing, but
Mhm.
Braedon and I specifically, like thinking of the memories of the games that we like played to get, we'd like do LAN parties,
Yeah,
essentially
yeah.
pull the TVs into the same room and be playing GTA, or we played Kingdoms of Amalur.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a deep cut. That was a fun
That's
game.
yeah.
I like that game.
The Kurt Schilling game.
Yeah. I remember, what's his name? The like angry nerd or whatever, the guy who
Angry
reviews.
video game nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did a video on Kingdoms of Amalur. It was funny. Yeah, but Forza Horizon. Like, we could go into like, I'm sure y'all have already done episodes on soundtracks of video games, but Forza Horizon is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. And it's just the radio stations in that game.
I would say we've done one episode, and I've been advocating for us to do another. So
Yeah, 2012.
October 2012.
Came out right after GTA. That's why I didn't actually discover that game until like 2 years later and play it, because I was distracted by GTA. But
Fair.
yeah, the Forza, specifically the Horizon games, because they were more arcadey
Yeah.
and casual, and they were just,
Still are.
yeah, they were more vibey, whereas the like straight up Forza games are like technical racing sims. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say about Horizon except the setting was
just wanted
cool
to shout it
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
and the soundtrack was awesome. I mean, you've got an artist named Mord Fustang. What else do you need to know?
I mean, when those games hit Game Pass, I play them for a few nights and go like, yeah, these are pretty
Well, and again,
solid.
it ties into the social element of gaming for me, because it was Matt who introduced me to Forza Horizon, and that was our game for like probably a year. We were playing that game a lot.
You remember Driver San Francisco?
I do. That is an interesting game. It's not really a racing game. It's like a driving narrative.
Yeah, you're like
a
teleport
cop.
from car to car. Your like soul takes over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird game. It was cool though.
They're supposedly doing like rebooting that series or doing a sequel, or
Or how about the Need
they
for
were
Speed
before
games?
Ubisoft.
Yeah, I was going to
decided
say Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit, and
Yeah, was that the one with
Burnout were the two that
Yeah, Burnout Paradise. That when you're talking about going to, was it a doctor's office or something and playing
a
a
gym.
gym.
a gym.
I went to a dentist office and played Lost Planet.
Well, I went to a public library and played Burnout Paradise.
A
And-
public library.
Yeah. Yeah, they had like a gaming room that was cordoned off so that you wouldn't distract people.
That's cool.
But yeah, I discovered Burnout Paradise there. And dude, when you're like
Yeah.
12, 13, the crash physics in that game were so satisfying, especially after playing Need for Speed and all their stupid branding and how like Chevrolet is like, well, we don't want you to obscure the logo
Yeah,
on
you
the
can't
car.
destroy the logo.
Yeah.
So the crash.
So all the
has to-
crashes didn't do anything, and then playing Burnout Paradise, and it's like, yeah, sure, you're driving like a Lamborghini Panawagon, but you still like, it looks close enough to a real Lamborghini, and when you crash into something, it just
It's
disintegrates.
the same thing with GTA, where they like
Yeah,
just make up their own car names.
yeah, it was awesome. Great destruction physics
Yeah.
in that game.
Yeah, those are the two that come to my mind. That and like Mario Kart Double Dash, the best Mario Kart in my opinion.
Yeah,
I like the one on the Wii that you could drive with the wheels.
My brothers were too good at that game. I didn't like it.
what was the game? Crash Bandicoot.
Mm.
There was a
Mm.
like Mario Kart knockoff.
Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, that they did.
Yeah.
They recently,
That was fun.
within the last probably 5 years or so, did like a remaster of it or
Mhm.
remake of it.
Did you
It's
ever
much
play,
harder than the Mario Kart games.
Did you ever play the Star Fox like competitive shooter, like local?
Star Fox Assault.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
They
That-
did it, Andrew.
Actually, if I were to say a game did influence me in some way, it was that Star Fox game.
He's a furry now.
I was going to say.
Not where I was going with that.
It influenced him.
I could see it. I could see sitting across from Andrew and Aubrey. They were like, "Ooh, who's gonna get the furry joke?"
Crystal.
No, it was the fact that it was like a multimodal battle space environment where you are shooting at people, you're in a plane, you're driving a tank, and that's like a pipeline straight into Battlefield.
Yeah, it was basically like baby's first Battlefield.
Yeah, and I love that game, and I love Battlefield. So,
do you still love Battlefield?
I do, although 2042 was kind of mid. I didn't play it much.
That was also Andrew and I's thought.
Yeah, but
I played 2 matches, and we're like, nah, uninstall.
I can't. Yeah. I've tried Battlefield enough times to realize it's just not for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think Battlefield has had a great game since Battlefield 4. It's been a while.
The World War II one looked cool, but I just never.
That's true. Battlefield 1 came out after 4, I think.
Yeah,
that was the
really
World
good.
War 1. I'm talking the one that came after that. That they did World War II again.
I don't know if I ever played that one. Was that 1942 or 43 or something?
No. I know which one you're talking about there, too.
Battlefield 1 was the one that killed Titanfall. That's all.
Battlefield 1 was great, actually, and it's because they were like, they didn't get weird with it. They're like, yeah, this is World War 1.
Yeah, it's Battlefield 5.
Yeah. Oh, no, that was... Yeah. No,
it was in like the mid-year.
Yeah, that was the one that had all the controversy because like they
were like, black people and women can't be World War II soldiers. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Okay.
So
no, at that point I was too busy with real life to be playing Battlefield games.
Yeah.
I'm so lost. Like 5. Well, then 1 came out after 5. Oh, that's a 1943.
Yeah, no,
like,
they did that thing where they
Xboxed it.
So yeah. Battlefield.
I don't need to know, but
Battlefield's formula was like modern day, if I recall. Modern day was just in order, like Battlefield, Battlefield 2, Battlefield 3 was modern.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it was older, it was like Battlefield 1942. Like that was the World War II one.
Yeah.
And if it was about cops, it was Hardline.
Yeah, the Hardline was a weird. I played that.
If it was about a good story, it was Bad Company.
Yeah, Bad Company was the Vietnam one. They made Bad Company and Bad Company 2. Those were both in Vietnam. Bad Company 2 is great. It was right before
Vietnam, not in Vietnam.
Was there a Battlefield Vietnam?
I thought there was.
I don't know.
It was probably when you were like 12.
Yeah, so Battlefield. No, you're not gonna like hearing this, but Battlefield
Vietnam,
Bad Company 2. I think I was.
Battlefield
12.
Vietnam came out in 2004.
Oh yeah, no, that was before my time.
He was 6.
Yeah. But yeah, so like Bad Company 1 and 2 and apparently Vietnam, those were in Vietnam. And then they had Battlefield 2042.
That was the coolest one. That was my favorite.
Those were like set in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And they had more like, robots and stuff in them. So, but then they got weird with it, and Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1. Battlefield 4 was like near future. It came out 2014, I think, and it was set like in now, like mid to early 2020s. And then after that,
flying drones.
Yeah, basically flying drones, conflict with China, buildings collapsing, tanks that are kind of futuristic but still kind of modern.
Mm-hmm.
And then Battlefield 1 was like, let's be cute with the name. And so it's World War 1, so we're going to call it Battlefield 1.
Okay.
They could have called it Battlefield 1915 or something, but
Okay.
It doesn't have the same ring to it.
No, it doesn't. But it was a great game.
It was.
It was really good.
I didn't play a ton of it, but the times that I played it, I was like, this is cool, but also I hate running for 30 minutes to get to the fight and then getting sniped immediately and then
or, trench warfare. So you just
stare at each other for 3 months and then you're ordered to charge.
And
just get ripped to shreds.
Die, yeah. The best part of that game,
in mustard gas.
The best part of that game was shooting down the blimps.
Yeah,
they had Zeppelins in that game.
Yep.
All right.
Well, there you go. We've learned a lot about Battlefield tonight.
We have.
It'll be a quiz later. speaking of quizzes, let's go ahead and roll into our closing segment for this episode.
Ooh.
So I prepped a game, and it shouldn't take too much time because it's just a synonym rule.
Okay.
Shocking. We all have our go-tos.
It's a good one. A
So
quick
this was
prep.
just like an association game. Like
I feel like this was
It's-
more Aubrey's go-to, but I've also like prepped it this afternoon. I was like, we might want to do a game for this one. So what's like the quickest formula that I know to make?
And
I was also thinking like
we haven't done one in a hot minute.
No.
a lot of times I like to go to, score-based like guess Metacritic type games, but with 3 contestants, it's like,
too many numbers to keep track of.
well, if you just go like high or lower or whatever, like if it's usually a 50-50 kind of guess with
right.
those type of games. And so
Mhm.
when
We
you
could
get 3
prices right
people-
it.
That's okay. Synonym roll will be more entertaining. So the idea,
It's also the one he has prepared.
Yeah, right.
the idea behind this game is that I took video game titles, I ran them through like thesaurus.com or synonym.com and made up false names for these games. And so you are going to hear me read out the false name,
okay.
and then you will have to guess the real name. So we'll just, shout it out if you think you know it. Dylan, you have a laptop if you want to keep score. The first game is Arena.
I'm going to do poorly at this. Arena?
Stadium, Coliseum.
Was it like Pokemon Stadium or something?
It's just one word.
Oh, Ring?
Battlefield.
Battlefield.
Seriously? What? Okay. What source are you using for this?
Synonym.com.
And thesaurus.com.
Thesaurus.com.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You would argue an arena is not a battlefield?
I would, because arenas are for competition.
The competition of life.
I was gonna say, what is a battle if not a competition for land or...
Continued existence.
All right, next game. Cardinal Departed Atonement.
Red Dead
Divinity
Redemption.
Original Sin.
Aubrey got it with
Oh.
Red Dead Redemption.
Really?
Cardinal. Red.
Cardinal
Departed.
is,
Arguable. That's
Cardinal
a bird.
is like a middle management of the Catholic Church or a bird. It's,
A red bird and
Yeah.
men who wear red robes.
I mean, yeah, okay. All right. I'm getting competitive. Maybe I should go to the arena.
Maybe you should. Maybe you can get Deity of Strife.
God of War.
Yep.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that one's easy.
What about Colossus Plunge?
Giant Swim? I don't know.
Big dive.
Yeah, what? Colossus Plunge? Fall Guys.
No.
Oh.
Plunge.
I'm hung up on Colossus. What is it? Giant, large, monumental.
I'm going to throw Monster Hunter out there, but I don't think it's
It's
it.
not Monster Hunter. I'll give you a hint. The original game title is one word.
Oh, Titanfall.
Titanfall.
Yep.
Mhm, mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Next game. Eliminator's Dogma, Raven Standard.
What?
Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
You got it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you got to pick one word, and
Yeah,
that
you-
usually opens up the rest of it.
Focus in. All right. Dominion, Materialize, Salvation.
Kingdom Come Deliverance?
You got it.
Yeah.
I don't even know what kind of game that is.
It's a Braedon game.
Yeah.
He played it in his childhood.
Yeah. No, I was in college, actually, when I played that game.
So was I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in college.
You've been in
all
college
Braden's
for 10
childhood.
years.
You've been in college since your childhood ended.
Yeah.
Genius Adversary. Or Adversaries. Genius Adversaries.
Which of us three has?
I was going to say, is this a
four?
game I would know what it is?
You've heard of it. The only person who's actually probably played it is Dylan.
That doesn't narrow things down a whole
No.
lot.
Genius is probably like the one you guys are going to moan about.
Okay.
It's a recent game. Genius Adversaries.
Give me a
Public
genre.
Enemy.
I can't give you a genre.
Okay, that gives it away then.
Whatever next hint I give will be pretty obvious, and it'll just become a race.
Adversaries is enemy, opponent.
It's a game that I have played a lot of.
Marvel Rivals.
Yes.
Yeah,
Marvel.
Genius is a bullshit.
Yeah.
That's not a synonym. It's an Eric synonym.
It's not an antonym. Genius is a synonym for like a marvel, I guess. It was in the list.
How far in the list?
Yeah.
It was in Strong.
That
Really?
is. I don't trust the. Yeah, I don't trust.
Braden's going to be sending some strongly worded emails to thesaurus.com.
That.
Using
Yeah. I was gonna say
thesaurus.
they'll be very strong words because I'll.
Mighty words.
Using Grammarly.
Freak, Pursuer, Overgrown.
Weird chase.
Monster
weed.
Hunter Wilds.
Monster Hunter Wild.
Weird chase.
Oh man, throwing them out there.
All right, Braden, lock in.
Uh-huh.
Martyr Tier.
Sacrifice God.
Yeah, I'm thinking like
Not that tier.
sacrifice.
Not
You
spelled
said-
with a Y.
He said Braden
Far
that said
Cry.
tier.
No.
Martyr tier. As in like a rank.
Martyr far, you know.
Well, I thought tear and cry. I didn't really.
Yeah, is it tier as in like ranking or tier as in like okay.
Oh.
Oh.
Teir. Okay.
Tier.
I was gonna say, isn't it T?
Whatever.
I before E.
Except after C.
Don't you have a PhD?
You'll always be wrong, no matter
Not
what
in-
they say.
Not in spelling.
Martyr tier. So yeah.
Hint?
Don't think of martyr as like an action. Think of it as like,
A person?
yeah.
Oh, Jesus list, obviously. Yeah.
What would the Catholics call like the disciples?
Saints Row.
There you go.
Ah, that's embarrassing.
All right. Next.
Tier?
Row. Yeah, you think about like rows on a table, I guess. I don't know.
There wasn't a synonym for row as in like
Like a row of
the
things?
street or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Long whale.
Whale, WHALE, or whale, WAIL?
Oh, is
Far
that Far
Cry.
Cry?
That's
yeah,
Far
that's
Cry.
Far Cry. I was stuck on the mammal. I was like a long, like a blue whale?
All right. And then the last one I have, Dylan, what is the score going into this final?
Braedon and Aubrey tied at 3.
Mm.
I am at 4.
All right.
So basically, I have to get it, or it's
Or it's a tie.
Hmm.
Varmint Exchange.
Rat trade.
That's where my brain went.
Varmint.
Squirrel solicitation.
My favorite game. It's on PC only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Steam. Only on Steam, and it has some very interesting art.
Yeah, it's in the featured games for some reason.
It's 90% off this week.
Yeah, it's 38
On the
cents.
Nintendo eShop.
Varmint Exchange.
Didn't want them all to be too easy.
Ducktail.
Woo!
I don't know.
I wouldn't think of a duck as a varmint.
Y'all probably moan about Exchange.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm just trying
focus
to
on
think.
varmint.
I don't know about varmint though.
Reader Rabbit? No.
No.
Is varmint like a specific animal or is it? It's not. It's
Minecraft.
No.
I was trying to think of games that you like put on this list.
If I say it slowly, it will make sense.
Varmints Exchange.
Minecraft?
Nanosaur.
Yeah, I don't know. Varmint Exchange? I
Hint?
don't- You said one moment about exchange, so give us a hint about the exchange side of it.
I feel like that was the best hint he could give us about it. Is that
Another synonym in the list might have been bridge.
Animal
Okay.
Crossing?
There you go.
Oh my god.
That's why I picked exchange, because all the other ones were way
Varmint
too obvious.
is not synonymous with animal. It is a classification of animal.
A varmint. Varmint's
Yeah.
colloquial.
Varmint is like a rodent.
A rodent is a classification.
Well,
I was gonna say
Brady
foxes,
loses.
raccoons, rodents. I think they could all fall under varmint. It's
Yeah,
just like
Braedon,
a
thanks.
pest animal.
Thanks for coming on the show. You lose the game. Dylan, what's going on YouTube?
when does this come out?
We don't know.
Every time we ask about
We have a
YouTube.
schedule.
We're ahead. I don't
have
know.
a
When does
schedule.
this come out? Sometime. Just give the YouTube spiel.
Yeah, a lot of Souls-like stuff over there.
Andrew's probably talking about a AA game. Dylan's been playing a lot of Monster Hunter, so I'm sure there's chatter about that. We post videos. We're trying to post more. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. It's really helpful. Leave a comment.
She's vying for your job, Dylan.
She can have it.
I'm
That's
not.
fine. Basically what Aubrey said. We've got video on Souls or Left 4 Dead.
Soul Slay.
Probably some Souls likes too, honestly. There's a lot of those on the channel. We recently had a video about games that maybe fill that Left 4 Dead shaped void in your heart. We've also had a video about maybe the best game to introduce a person who is unfamiliar with video games to video games. And then there's another video coming out. It might be Monster Hunter. It might be like female protagonists in gaming. I don't know. It's not done yet. We're ahead. I just work here.
All right. Well, usually I throw it to Aubrey for some sort of shenanigan, but Braedon, do you have anything that you want to plug or you want to...
PSA you want to share? Just anything.
If anybody knows a good way to stretch their left hip after running, let me know.
There's only somebody who specializes in physical therapy sitting right next to you. I can't imagine who that might be.
Listen, I'm putting it out there.
Also, Braedon is technically in our Discord. He never...
Yeah. And if you're
True.
watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. Tell Braedon
How to stretch
how
out
to
his
stretch
left
his
hip.
left hip
How do I
after a run. He
Yeah.
won't read it, but we'll get it to him.
We'll pass it on.
Yeah, forward it.
Or if you're on Spotify, also leave the comment there because Andrew doesn't know how to see
We
him.
will never see that.
That's a new feature, I think, because I've
It's not that new.
I know.
It's like 6 months old
yeah,
at least.
Relatively speaking, it's new, like in the lifespan of Spotify. But we've been making this joke for at least 6 months. So,
Yeah.
It doesn't get old. Makes me laugh.
not to us.
they really are like the old YouTube comments too. Every time I see Spotify comments, they're really mean.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Maybe I should figure out how to get in
Yeah.
there. All right. Well,
They
with-
might be. We just don't know. We don't know how to look at them.
There'd be like a timestamp, and they're like, "Wow, you guys are really stupid."
that's like our current YouTube comments.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Those haven't changed.
And with that, thank you all so much for listening. Braedon, thanks for joining us on this episode and
You're welcome.
Educating us all on Battlefield.
Battlefield, and yeah, dating things
Yeah,
appropriately.
keeping us honest when it comes to when games came out.
And thank you all so much for listening. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one, and stay friendly, gamers.